Travis.
Good morning. Welcome to UPAC. We are going to live stream today. So we're going to start by allowing Travis Randolph, the president of the Wilkie D. Ferguson Bar Association, to tell us how to join us in the live stream process, and then we will move forward from there. So Travis, you may want to give some technical information at this point.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Travis Randolph. I am the president of the Wilkie D. Ferguson Jr. Bar Association, which is the Black Lawyers Association of Miami-Dade County. It was founded in 1977 by a group of lawyers who realized that barriers to full inclusion into the legal community in Miami-Dade County could only be accomplished through a collective effort. The Wilkie D. Ferguson Jr. Bar Association remains committed to the ideas of equal access, equal opportunity, and equal justice in the legal system. We are proud to host this meeting along with UPAC as a part of our service to the community. Right now, we are live streaming on Facebook. That means that for anyone who has trouble getting into the Zoom meeting because you're having technical difficulties or because of something that's going on with your phone, you can go to our Facebook website page. It is the Wilkie D. Ferguson Jr. Bar Association. Just go to our Facebook page and you can view us live from there. For those of us who are attending here on Zoom, we welcome you, and I'm going to turn it over.
Thank you, Travis. I'm Betty Ferguson, the president of UPAC, and as you have already heard, our co-sponsor, longtime co-sponsor, is the Wilkie D. Ferguson Jr. Bar Association. And we are always happy to have them support us as they have done for a very long time. I hope you enjoyed at least a few days of your holiday season before the explosion at the White House. Unfortunately, I'm going to ask you to give a little of your focus for just a minute before we introduce our guest speakers today to two longtime supporters of UPAC who we lost to COVID-19. We lost two people. Alton and Catherine Jackson. For the ones of you who've been with us for the last 30 years, you know that they were always there. As a matter of fact, Sister Catherine Jackson was the one who made sure that
The food.
We had breakfast every Saturday for almost 30 years at the church. And her husband was always there. So their service is going to be this coming Tuesday. They died just days apart, both with COVID-19. And at the end of our meeting today, in our community announcements, we'll give you more information. At this point, we're going to turn it over to Francis Ragu, our moderator, to introduce our topic and speakers for today. Francis.
Good morning, UPAC, and Happy New Year. Before I go into our topic today, I think, Marina, we have a new staff member from Senator Shevrin Jones' office, and he wanted to have the privilege to introduce that person. Can you do so now?
Yes, thank you so much, Francis. Hello, UPAC. My name is Marina with Senator Shevrin Jones, and our office has hired a new district secretary. Her name is Emily Rodriguez, and we're so happy and excited that she's joining our team. She will be rotating with the other staff on these weekly UPAC meetings. So we're really excited.
So Emily, you have your 15 seconds fame on UPAC to introduce yourself. That's acknowledging us. Go ahead.
Hello, guys. Thank you all for having me. I'm really excited to continue participating in these meetings and get stuff done in the community with Senator Jones's office. So thank you all again for this warm welcome.
Thank you. Moving forward, again, good morning and happy new year to all. As many of you are aware, I am the representative for the Miami-Dade County 21st Century Schools $1.2 billion Bond Advisory Committee as appointed by Dr. Steve Garland III, our District 1 school board member. In so doing, I was very much appalled in our last meeting when I observed a huge disparity in the dollar amount of the contracts between the Black contractors and the Hispanic contractors bundled under the banner of minority contractors. As a result of such, and under the umbrella of APAC and our partner, the Wilkie D. Ferguson Jr. Bar Association, we put this panel together not only to identify the disparity, but also to discuss ways and means to increase the participation, not only as it relates to the $1.2 billion bond, but also with other procurement opportunities within the school system for Black contractors and businesses. We are extremely hopeful that this would help make a difference in the numbers in moving forward. That being said, let me introduce the panel members for this morning. Dr. Steve Garland III, Vice Chair and District 1 Miami-Dade County School Board member. We have Jennifer DeAndreu, and Jennifer, I must bundle your last name, but you understand. Assistant Superintendent, Equity and Diversity from the Office of Equal Opportunity for Miami-Dade County School Board, and Mr. Eric Knowles, President and CEO of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. We'll now hear from Dr. Steve Garland as he leads forward. For the members, what's going to happen is after the presentation, we'll be encouraging contractors who seize the opportunity, who have participated and did not get contracts, those who have gotten contracts. Let us hear from the experience, good or bad, because our intent is to not only, as President Obama said, don't boo, vote. Well, we are not only going to complain, we're going to try to make a difference in helping those who have an interest make a difference and be part of that experience to share in our tax dollars in moving forward. Dr. Garland, you have the floor.
Good morning, UPAC. First, I want to thank each and every one of you, Commissioner Ferguson, Mr. Ragu, all members of UPAC, and definitely the Wilkie D. Ferguson Black Lawyers Association for their leadership and involvement. I'm no stranger to UPAC. I'm no stranger to this body of work. And once again, I'm extremely proud and humbled and excited to speak with each and every one of you this morning about this critically important issue. Just to give some context from a policy standpoint, and again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your support during my initial 4 years. We now have an additional 4 years to continue this work, to continue to stand, to continue to speak, and continue to fight for our children, but also for our community. But as we embarked upon this journey about 4 years ago in 2016, we recognized many of the challenges that were educational, but I was very, very candid about the economic disparity challenges that lingered in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. We are a $5.2 billion industry with the second largest budget in the county and the largest district in the state of Florida and the fourth largest district in the nation. But in addition to many of the challenges that we faced educationally, there were some significant challenges that were well known that we faced economically as a community. And it was not because Dr. Steve Garland said it. It was not because it was said on social media or somebody mentioned it. This was documented by the Miami-Dade County Public Schools itself through a disparity study. And that disparity study was very, very simple, that Blacks were not getting their fair share of economic opportunities in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. One of the most significant adventures that we embarked upon in 2012, I was not on the board at the time, was the general obligation bond. I've been very, very candid and very, very vocal and very unapologetic about the fact that that was a bifurcated promise. Yes, it was a promise to enhance our school facilities. Yes, it was a promise to build new schools. Yes, it was a promise to enhance technology and the related infrastructure in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. But the other iteration of that promise was to provide economic opportunities for underrepresented groups such as Black contractors and minority firms. That was a promise that was made to the Black community in 2012. Fast forward years later, when I got on the board, I wanted to really get a sense of how has the district kept that promise? How have we moved the needle relative to mitigating and abating and hopefully eliminating some of the glaring disparities that were reflected by the district in its own disparity study? And what I found is that we were not moving the needle fast enough. So I took a very, very bold, very, very public, and a very, very unapologetic policy position amongst many, starting in 2017. I was elected in 2016. On November 15, 2017, school board agenda item H10, I proffered an item that was unanimously supported that addressed the issue of the general obligation bond, the reporting and accounting and providing information relative to where is the money, who's getting paid what and how much, and who's getting denied those opportunities. This was not an issue that should have required people to go through the process of public information requests. It was not something that the public should have had to go through tremendous hurdles to find out. This was something that should be readily available to the public on a dashboard. And that item called for that information to be reported, available to the public, who got paid what and how much. And we were able to identify what vendors did have opportunities for business in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. So that was one of the first things that we did to provide for the level of transparency. You can't move the needle if you don't know the data. And if the data is concealed within the organization, if the data is not clearly available in a large bureaucracy, then that continues to be an impediment to us moving the needle in terms of improving the disparities that we now face. So that was moved forward. And right now, as a community, we can go to a public dashboard on the Miami-Dade County Public Schools and see who's getting paid what and how much. There were some additional initiatives that came forward. One was also significant, is that we asked for an outside audit of the GOB expenditures. That initiative was proffered by my colleague, Maria Rojas, who joined the board with me in 2016 as well. And that asked for an independent audit of the GOB expenditures. There was no malfeasance, there was no misappropriation of funds. But once again, we found that disparity in the process by which people qualify and get contracts needed a lot of work. I continued to provide some additional board items addressing one item H8 in December of 2018. I also moved in April of 2019 to look at the overall scope of procurement, because although we speak about the general obligation bond, that will sunset. At some point, that will come to an end. But the Miami-Dade County Public Schools will continue to need paper towels. We will continue to need pencils and paper clips and bathroom tissue and cleaning supplies and professional development and consulting and all of those things that go through procurement, which is a significant area of the district that I wanted to address and see how we go about ensuring that we are doing it in a fair and equitable way. We brought on new leadership, and Ms. Andrea, who now heads that department. We also have a Department of Urban Affairs, but I must say that we have tremendous work to do. One of the things I hope that comes out of this is that although myself and other colleagues on the board, my colleague, Dr. Dorothy Bendros-Mendengal, she's also vocal in this particular work, there's not an item that goes through relative to construction of facilities that we don't question the percentages of Blacks that are available, whether it's for plumbing, architect, painting, general contractors. We question that. But one of the answers that we often get is that there is a dearth. There is a dearth. There are not enough available people ready to do the work. I have been very candid that we as a district have to be much more deliberate. We cannot be passive. We have to be intentional, and we have to hold the superintendent, the administration accountable to make sure that we're taking every step. But on the other side of the coin, it vexes me when I get responses that we don't have people applying, and quite frankly, we don't have people qualified and ready to do the work. In these instances, we need to get to the root causes. Is it that people don't have the confidence in applying for the work? Is it that they can't bond? Is it that they are not interested? Is it that we just maybe need to develop a bench, a pipeline, some kind of a succession program for those areas in which Blacks are underrepresented. One area that we had a significant underrepresentation of Blacks was in the area of Black architects. There just were none. There just were none. And if there were some, they were far and few between, and they chose not to do business with the Miami-Dade County Public Schools because they could do business elsewhere because there were not many. We've tightened up our processes with respect to our subcontractors. And again, most recently, although we had a $1.2 billion bond, Jennifer will get into the exact numbers. I think we've expended a little over $900 million, about $80+ million went to Blacks. But I want to say I challenge that number, because although it was about $80+ million that went to Black contractors, over $40+ million went to one Black contractor. It went to one Black contractor. So we have to be very transparent. We have to be very candid, but we have to be able to identify businesses out there. And I've been able to facilitate businesses that reach out. But again, we have tremendous work to do. And based on the anticipated data coming forward in the next iteration of the disparity study, we've not moved the needle fast enough for me. We represent over 20+% of the population in the Miami-Dade County community, but we still hover a little over maybe 10, 11% of the businesses in this particular area. And I'm not just talking about general obligation bond, I'm talking about procurement overall. My last comment is I want to thank Francis Ragu, who was my representative when I was elected. We had a number of representatives for different committees, but many of them were not from this community. So one of the requirements that I had was that they have to be a resident of this community. They have to be part of District 1, and or they have to have some level of expertise to be able to move the needle. And I was very, very proud to bring back Ron Frazier, who has been an expert, who has been a voice to represent me, because he was no longer able to serve because of a policy position, and he was not serving as he previously was. But I've now brought him back to be another representative on the Small Business Minority Business Advisory Committee, so we can have an extra set of eyes on that work. So that's my update. I'm looking forward to some feedback, and Ms. Andrea will give you some additional information. And as I close my remarks, I'll be available here. My position is quite simple. I say it publicly, I say it privately, but I'll say it here. I say to the superintendent and the staff, I'm not impressed by how many people show up at a fair. I'm not impressed by how many people join a meeting. I'm not overly impressed by how many people attend a conference. What I want to know is how many people get qualified. Of those people who are qualified, how many people apply? Of those people who apply, how many people get contracts? Of those people who get contracts, how many people get paid, and how much money is represented of that pie with the Black community? So again, we have to dig a little deeper in the data. Ms. Andrea knows my position. The superintendent knows my position. So you'll hear a lot of language about how many people we qualified. I'm not moved by that. Yes, that's one iteration of the work. That's one of the first steps that we have to take. But at the end of the day, show me the money that is going to the Black community. Show me the money that is going to an underrepresented, voiced community, a community that has been historically left out and locked out and forgotten in this economic equation, notwithstanding the educational equation that we are working on. But it's not an either or for me as your board representative. It's a both and. We have to deal with the educational issues, but we have to continue to stand, speak, and fight for the economic issues and impediments, and most importantly, the disparities that continue to vex Black communities in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools and throughout. Thank you, Mr. Ragu, and I'll be available for any follow-up questions. To the viewers, you may see a different background. I'll be transitioning, but I will still be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garland. And Travis, before we go on to the next speaker, for those who join us late, and since we are streaming live, do you want to share that information for who wishes to share on their page, etc.?
Sure. Good morning to everyone out there. My name is Travis Randolph. I am the president of the Wilkie D. Ferguson Junior Bar Association. In order to make this meeting accessible to everyone, or as many people as possible, not only are we allowing people to attend by Zoom, but we're also broadcasting live on Facebook. If there's anyone who's having trouble with their Zoom login, or is having trouble with their telephones, or is just unable to log in, if they will go to our Facebook page, it's the Wilkie D. Ferguson Junior Bar Association, our Facebook page. You can log on there and you can, well, actually you don't have to log on. Just go to our Facebook page. You can watch us there. There's also an area for you to leave comments for those of you who are watching in Facebook. Please know that we are monitoring our comment section there. So if there's any questions that you have for any of our guests, please leave your questions there and we will try to accommodate everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. We'll now hear from Ms. Jennifer DeAndre, Assistant Superintendent, Equity and Diversity from the Office of the Equal Opportunity for Miami-Dade County School Board. Ms. Andrea.
Good morning and Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner Ferguson and Mr. Ragu, and also to Travis for the opportunity. I would like to share a short PowerPoint presentation with you, but at any time, please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. And I'm very excited to have my school board member here. So everything that Dr. Gallen mentioned, we are doing, and he is holding us accountable, and we have the numbers and the data to share with the community all of the steps we're taking. So I just, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the first step in terms of our general obligation bond is to become a pre-qualified contractor. And so our school board policy, and Dr. Gallen mentioned, they are the policy makers. So Dr. Gallen and his colleagues approved policy 6334, which basically follow the state requirements for educational facilities, SRUF, and that allows you to have the bonding capacity to be able to work on a school project. There are a couple of things you have to do. All of it is online through our online diversity compliance system. And so everybody can do this from the comfort of their business or their home. And it's a much easier, simplified process than when we first began in 2013. So we're taking advantage of the technology. And these are some of the documents needed that you just upload to the system in order to become a pre-qualified contractor. And that's exactly the number that Dr. Gallen was referring to. We want to increase the number, particularly of African-American pre-qualified contractors. We currently have about 20, and we want to increase that. Once you are pre-qualified, and you don't have to go in any special order, the next step is to get certified with us. And if you're in the arena of goods and services, then you don't need to get pre-qualified. You only should get certified. And you can be certified as a micro business or small, depending on the amount of dollars that you make, a veteran business, a minority, or a woman-owned business. And the women are non-minority women. So to get certified, the same process, everything is absolutely free. I know that other entities are backlogged. We are not. If you submit your paperwork today, in a matter of hours, you will be certified. Pre-qualified, we have to have the board's approval. So that once a month, we take an F80 item to Dr. Gallen and his colleagues for approval for the pre-qualification list. But you will see here some of the things needed for eligibility to become certified in one of those areas. And why is that important to be certified? Because there are benefits to this free certification. And we're not, people sometimes get confused with the county. We have an interlocal agreement. So it's an abbreviated process, but you have to get certified with each entity in and of itself separately. And I encourage people to do the county, to work with us at Miami-Dade County Public Schools, to do Broward County Public Schools, and the same thing in Palm Beach. So we do, again, share information throughout the Tri-County area, but you do need to go ahead and apply to each entity separately. But once you are certified, you get referrals. You get it published, all of it for free in our online directory. And that way people have access to your information, to your contact information. And we're able to do sheltered market opportunities. So once we have at least 3 firms that are certified by their NIGP code, when we have our goal setting meetings, we can apply a goal, either a percentage goal, a point goal, or make it a sheltered market for only micro or small businesses. Dr. Gallen earlier mentioned that we are wrapping up another disparity study. So those results will be published very soon, and they'll be coming to the board. Once the board accepts those disparity study results, hopefully we'll be able to do minority goals for our goods and services contracts and those bids that are coming out. Currently, we only have minority goals for our GOB projects, but we're looking to expand that with this last iteration of the disparity study. And then our goals are mandatory. So when you see there's a subcontracting goal, that's a mandatory goal, and they must hire an African-American, Asian American, or Native American, because that is what the disparity study showed that we were lacking. To register, 3 easy steps. They're here for you, and I'll share this presentation with Mr. Ragu if he can email it out or post it. So if anybody needs the information, but everything again is online. You fill out the form to get a vendor number. That's step 1. Then you can get certified with us. Step 2, we review your online application and we approve it as long as you meet all of the criteria. Most importantly, and Mr. Ragu stressed this to me several times when we were planning this, we wanted to know about upcoming opportunities. What is available, right? So these are some of our facilities contracts that are coming out right now. They will be hitting the street, as we call it. So we have Neva King Cooper, Norland Middle School, Howard D. McMillan, Homestead Middle, Palmetto Middle, and Lawton Childs Middle School. And again, all of these projects have mandatory goals. So these prime contractors must submit their goal and their application with a minority vendor. And so we talked about the dollars being spent. So as of September 30th, $839 million has been spent of our $1.2 billion general obligation bond. And we're just getting our December numbers because it was the end of the quarter, December 31st. So as I think Dr. Gallen mentioned, it's over $900 million at this point. Of that, $44 million has been spent with African-American primes. And Dr. Gallen said there was one prime though who did receive the majority of those dollars because he was ready, willing, and able. So we've had to ramp up and get other firms ready, make sure they get pre-qualified, help them build their capacity. And now we've been able to do that. And that's why we now have the 20. So they are receiving business, but they're not receiving enough. We're not there yet. And that's been said several times already this morning. We know that we have more work to do, but it's a start. And so we want to continue. We're making sure that all of our projects have goals and that we are doing a lot of outreach so that contractors can meet the subs and hire them. So that's a big part of what we do. So I encourage anybody on the line to follow us on social media to learn more about when we have those meet and greets with the prime contractor, because that's a great way to establish relationships. On the goods and services side, and Dr. Gallen said, these things are continuously, we'll always purchase these things. And we spend $500 million each year in procurement of just goods and services. These items that you see here, the custodial paper goods and dispensers, I think he even gave that paper towels as an example, telephone repair, computer repair is huge. You know, many students are still doing remote learning and they're breaking the devices. So we have to repair them and get them ready to be sent out again to students that are remaining online. Teacher supplies and sneeze guard. Of course, we're doing a lot in the PPE realm because of COVID. So we have been doing a lot of purchasing in that area. And then food service, they need fresh produce. That's always in our food service is our biggest spender. We call them our #1 customer. So they spend more than any other group in the school system. Food service, transportation, and technology, our IT department. Those are our 3 big spenders. So if you're in that arena, we encourage you to come to those outreach events so that you can meet the heads of the department and find out what needs they have so that you can be prepared for the opportunity. And then you see security guard services also there. Our contact information is here. Please write my name, email, phone number. You can reach me directly. That is my direct line, 305-995-1966. And my staff, we are here to help you. We want to see you win. We want to see you be awarded contracts. Dr. Gallen mentioned we can have events and have 200 people at the event, but if nobody applies and nobody actually is awarded a contract, then we have not done our job successfully. And that's why we are tracking the dollars spent, because it is on my performance evaluation that if I don't increase the dollars that are spent with African-American firms, then I have not met my goal and I have not done my job well. So it is personal, and we're working hard to try to meet all of the goals. I want you to know that 52.62% of the general obligation bond has been spent with certified firms. So over half the dollars have been spent, but, and it was already alluded to, a large portion of that is with Hispanic American firms. There are more firms readily available, and so that's why we need to increase the number of certified firms that we have. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen. So in terms of, we talked about architects and goods and services. We have about 23 architects. We need more. We need more architects all the time. In terms of goods and services, I think that arena is built out well. We have over 200 firms, but we're always looking for more. So again, I need your referrals. If you know anybody who is a business owner, they have to have been in business for at least 1 year. Tell them that we're here. There's still people who are out in the community who don't think about purchasing with the school system. They only think about the county. So let them know that we are here and we want to do business with them, and we will walk them and guide them through. Our outreach team does a 6-week course, again, absolutely free. And they meet the buyers in the procurement department. And when they leave, they basically have a template at the end of the 6 weeks, and they're ready to bid. We help them, we go through the ITB with them, or the RFP. And so at least they have a template and they're not starting from the ground up, and they're ready to go ahead and bid. We know it's an arduous process, but we're willing to hold your hand and help you kind of become proficient and overcome the obstacles that sometimes, people see government as having a lot of red tape and bureaucracy. So that is why we are your advocates, to work with you and help navigate those waters for you. Another thing that I'd like to share is our pre-qualification. If you are in the construction arena, we need more people doing roofing, air conditioning. We have a lot of painters, which is good. We could use more plumbers and more general contractors. So those are some of the areas that we're always looking to beef up in terms of the number of firms that can do business, because sometimes we hear back from the contractor that they can't find people. And so they've asked us to lower the goals or to change and substitute people because they can't find enough firms to work with. So that breaks my heart when that happens. So we really do need to make sure that we are prepared and we can help to link people up. And I know Mr. Knowles will probably address some of it because we have the resources available to do some matchmaking with people who need bonding, who need insurance. So again, that's another resource that we offer. We used to do our Technical Tuesdays each Tuesday in person, but we are still doing them virtually. So if you need that kind of assistance, don't hesitate. We want you to reach out to us. Another area, just so that you know, that we do is compliance. So once we actually have said, okay, we have a team together now, we have a prime contractor and these 5 subs, now we have to make sure that those are the subs that are on the job. And if you follow Dr. Gallen on social media, you know, he goes out to the site and he'll take pictures and he will go and look, because if you said that, you know, it's going to be Michael Butler's team that's out there, when we go out there to Norland, we want to see Michael Butler's team there, not some other team. So that's our compliance review team. They go to the projects. They make sure that everybody is properly badged. Because of Jessica Lunsford, we want to make sure that people have clearance and they're badged and the right firms are on the job. And if they say that it's an African-American firm, we expect to see that when we go out there. So our compliance team, they have already this year completed about 195 of those workforce reviews. So that's another means that we have to making sure that there's accountability in all of these projects. Also, what we have initiated too, since I've been in the office, I've been there actually 2 years now, this is my anniversary month. And so we've tried, based on the feedback that people have given, particularly in these types of forums, we have been able to monitor and change procedures, not policy, but procedures to try and do things better and more efficiently. So once I got to the office, I was hearing a lot about people didn't know when there was an opportunity. And so therefore they were missing the opportunities. So we've started what I would like to call almost a concierge type of service. So if there is an opportunity and you are registered with us, we call you on the phone. And this is every single one. Okay, I don't think any other entity, well, I know my friends in Broward started doing it now because I've talked about it so much. So they've started, you know, they say that imitation is the best form of flattery. So I think they've started it now, but we pick up the phone and we call you and we let you know, oh, there's going to be something out, we need paper and you should apply because you sell paper. And then we email it to you. So after we've called you, we actually send it to you so you don't have to go searching for it, because we know that as a small business, you don't have time to always go to dadeschools.net to look at the opportunities. So we email it to you and encourage you to apply. However, of late, we're still getting people not applying. And so I'm still trying to fill that gap. You know, I don't know, some people still have this notion that why should I apply? You all know who you're going to give the business to. That is not true. I can tell you that is not true. I don't know if those things were carried from 10 years ago, but that is not the case. We are trying to operate in transparency, and we are looking at, when it's a bid, it's strictly numbers. And we share that with everyone. You can see how much each business, you know, put down as their cost analysis and what they were recommending, their price point that they're recommending. You can see that it's all available for public, you know, consumption. You can see that. So we encourage people to go and look at past ones so you know the arena you should be in, and you won't price your item or your service out of the ballpark. So that's always a very helpful opportunity. We're also encouraging, and I don't see enough business owners taking advantage of it. If you're not successful, if you submitted a bid, but you were not successful, procurement will have a debrief with you. And that's something that people aren't doing. So you can call the buyer and you all can meet, via Teams or Zoom, and they will go over, whatever obstacles you faced and why you weren't successful. So the next time out, you can be. So those are just a few of the procedures that we've put into place recently. And now we're even extending the calls to our ITBs. We only used to do them on the big, requests for proposals. Now we've even kind of torn that down a little bit and breaking it down a little bit more. And we're calling on the invitations to bid as well, so that you don't miss any opportunity, because we want you all to, again, be awarded contracts, and we want to see the dollars stay in the community. I see Mr. Frazier, who has joined, and he has been absolutely an instrumental part of our small business advisory committee. Gives great advice to the board and to us, and things that we can do better and do differently, so that we can, again, achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve. The superintendent said that we'd be at least at 7%. So we're hovering in our prime right at around 6. We still want to go to at least 7. And when we say that, 7 is the floor. I want to be very clear on that. 7 is the floor. It's not the ceiling. That is the minimum. That is the floor. So I know that we can do better, and we're going to keep working until we get to at least, the ceiling. So we're not going to be content with just staying at the floor. We want to see our businesses win. So at this time, unless I'll take any questions, Trelvis, or do you want
We're going to hold questions, Jennifer,
Okay.
Until after Eric's presentation, and then come back in. So in that way, we stay the course.
Okay, thank you.
Does that conclude your presentation?
That concludes our presentation, but please, I want you to take my number down. If you didn't, I know it's a lot of information, but I want you to have my contact information, so that if you have follow-up questions or you have individual situations, you can reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to help.
And you can do so, Jennifer, by putting it in the chat in the meantime.
Okay.
So in that way. And again, we want to thank you for a very great presentation. We are going to go on to Mr. Eric Knowles, the President and CEO of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. And then after that, I'm going to defer to Mr. Ron Frazier, who has been an advocate for many years and has been one of my mentors as I serve in terms of my capacity. And then we're going to open up for the questions and answers, questions, in fact, be it in the chat or the Facebook. Eric, in so doing, you may want to just give us a little background on the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. Who are you, and your compilation of your members, etc. Just speaking from the contractor's point of view. And the floor is yours now, Mr. Knowles.
Well, thank you, Francis, and thank you for having me here today. Obviously want to thank Commissioner Ferguson for her leadership. As she says, UPPAC has been here for us over 30 years. Dr. Gallen and Ms. Andreu, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this today. Also, I want to recognize and thank some of the members of the chamber. In particular, I have one of our board members, Mr. Denard St. Jean, who was on as well, Michael Butler, Bob Tyler, as well as Ron Frazier, who is here. But also, I want to recognize your staff, Jennifer, who always engages with the chamber and keeps us informed of the opportunities. Michelle Levy, Denise Mincy Mills, Junior Anderson. The chamber has been around since 1974. I serve as the president now and CEO for the last 6 years, going on 7 years. Prior to that, working with the Miami Dolphins, and in that capacity was very engaged with UPPAC. But the one thing I want to say is there are many challenges. Obviously, Dr. Gallen spoke of those challenges, and Ms. Andreu spoke about the challenges and the opportunities. As I said, this bond has been out for several years, $1.2 billion, and probably $900 billion of it has been, 900 million has been basically expended. So there's still about, I guess, about $3 billion that are still available for our community to take advantage of. We, at the beginning of the pandemic, we pivoted and began to every day be on a call just like this, Zooms, informing our businesses of the opportunities from the PPP and EIDL so that they can stay open. But as we know, we have lost many businesses since March, and it has been very challenging. But because of the school board, they have been open. Their construction has continued. The doors of the schools have continued to be open. So there is a plethora of opportunities there. But also, at the same time, there are the challenges. And the challenges that I speak about basically are the, I guess how do I put this? The reluctance to try to do business with the school board because, as Dr. Gallen may have said, and Ms. Andreu has said, you know, you may have gotten qualified, you may have signed up, but you didn't get the business. And you can't just stop there because you've signed up and you filled out the application and you got certified. It is a process. You got to build relationships. You got to call Ms. Andreu. You got to call her office. You got to let them know that you want this business. It just doesn't happen because you signed up and put your name on that paper. The one thing about what Ms. Andreu said about matchmaking, I believe matchmaking, and what I think the school board should get back to is the mentor protege for these large contractors to bring in these small businesses. You know, you may be just starting out for the first year. I know my good friend Michael Butler, and I always talk about how Michael started out. He started out basically catching the bus and building his business. And I would say he doesn't catch the bus anymore, but the one thing, he hustled. And it's about starting those small businesses who are just starting out, who go through that process of filling out the applications, of getting certified. How do you get them into the pipeline? So those small businesses should automatically, from my perspective, if they have the wherewithal to do the business, give them a mentor, a larger contractor who has the business, give them the opportunity to do business with that larger contractor. I don't know, Ms. Andreu, if you spoke about the sheltered markets. I know, as I mentioned, I'm gonna back up a little bit. I said when the pandemic hit, we were online each and every day talking about how do businesses get engaged. And one of the problems that our small businesses had or still have, where they were not able to participate or receive PPP or EIDL, is because they didn't have the back of their house together. And that is one of the biggest problems we have, even doing business with the school board. If you don't have the back of your house together, from as little as having your EIN number, as you may have started your business 3 years ago, but you didn't pay your county taxes. You didn't, so you're not really a qualified business. You think you're in business, but you're not. You don't have an accountant. You don't have a CPA. You don't have a lawyer. You're not even registered your business properly. So that's the one thing that we have to do, is get the back of our house together when it comes to our businesses. So I go back to the fact that we were meeting every day. Then we pivoted to Tuesdays and Fridays. And the one thing I would say is Jennifer's team has been with us almost every week or every other week, bringing us information. Junior Anderson has been there talking about sheltered markets. I don't know if, Jennifer, if you talked about sheltered markets, but I'd like for you to talk about that a little bit so that these businesses understand that you all are creating windows of opportunity for small business to enter. And I think that sheltered market is probably the easiest way for a small business that's getting started to do business with the school board. So as I said, we're the chamber. We've been around since 1974, advocating and working with various organizations in the community to ensure that our businesses are participating. But it is a sad commentary when I hear that we only have 20 contractors that are certified with the school board. We have to do a better job. But a lot of that has to do with our contractors and other businesses have tried and they feel very jaded and they stop trying. And that's something we have to get around.
Does that conclude, Eric?
Yes.
Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Mr. Frazier, I know you were expected, but I'm glad that you're on. And as one of the most diligent advocate I've known, not only with the school board, but with the county and Jackson Hospital, I want to defer to you for a moment for whatever contribution that you can share. And then we're going to go into the questions from the members that are online. Mr. Frazier, and happy New Year.
Thank you, Francis. I only have two comments for the businesses online. When I was active in pursuing things with the school board and these programs and things, one of the things that it cost me was time. I used to go to every school board meeting and raise issues. I used to go and harass the staff, the superintendent, everybody about the contributions of Black businesses and what they were not doing. Now, I wasn't welcome all the time and most of the time, but I was persistent. And I managed to break down a lot of barriers and get some programs in place that has helped a number of people on this Zoom and people not on this Zoom. The problem is we get comfortable too quick. Those that got a little success didn't fight anymore. They didn't bring other people in with them, okay? So this is about unity. You can't do it by yourself. This is a collective effort. It's not only contractors, it's people that's in procurement and those other areas. It has to be a full court press. Perfect example is the Georgia vote. Stacey Abrams ran for governor, didn't win, but she vowed to make sure that everybody was going to get a right to vote, and she pressed and she pressed and she pressed. And look what happened. Georgia has 2 senators. She didn't give up. So you want a piece of this action? Do you think they're just going to open it up and let you have it? You know? You have to understand the history of Black people in this country. We've always had to fight against barriers and upstream and the whole bit. Collective, it's called collective action. If you need some new ordinances or some new things, you need to go down to the board and press it. It's all about, the board makes the final decision. Now, Ms. Andrew is a gift. I'm telling you, she's a gift. Because number one, she has a pretty good understanding of this procurement program, but she's an administrator, which is a lot more than what the previous people were. She's an administrator. She fights behind the scenes more than you'll ever know. And she gets rebuffed a lot. She won't say that. But she fights behind the scenes. What she needs is a collective effort on the part of Black businesses to decide that they want a piece of this pie. And then you got to be proactive and go in and get it. So that's the only thing I can tell you. I can tell you, Francis, when I used to go to UPPAC meetings every Saturday, I would give them an update of all the fights I was having with everybody on the board. I was frustrated a whole lot of times, you know, but I decided I wanted to make sure something was going to happen one way or the other, because I supported the bond and I supported the bond on the basis that we would get a piece of the action. I told the superintendent that we were joined at the hip. You can't get rid of me now. We're joined at the hip. And I will turn on you like a rabid dog if you don't go ahead with some of these programs. You know? So we had a lot of hot meetings, not necessarily in public, but behind closed doors, we did. So collective action, people, that's what it's about. Thank you, Francis.
Ron, can you share your professional background for those of us who probably not aware?
I'm an architect and urban planner. I had a business here in Miami. I'm now retired. I was in business for 40 years here in Miami. I was the first Black architect to ever get a job from the school board under Johnny Jones, and they treated me like I was an outcast the whole time, you know. But I managed to hang in there and come back and then get a contract with the school board that lasted for almost 10 years that no one had ever had like this. Done a lot of projects here in Miami-Dade County, Caleb Center, MLK office building, the school on 7th Avenue, community college, a number of other things. But in urban planning, I've done a lot of urban renewal type planning, things like that. And I'm also the chairman of the BAC Funding Corporation, and we provide loans and investments to Black businesses. And we fund a lot of contractors. So I understand what they're going through and what they need in that type of situation. That's what I said.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. And if you probably can share it.
I'm retired, and tomorrow's my birthday, and I'll be 78. And I got my COVID shot.
Happy birthday. If you can share your contact information for the BAC, so those who may be in need of seed funding and so forth, we will appreciate that. We're now going to go on to the questions and answers. You can always raise your hand and be recognized on the Zoom. But from the online, there was one question: where do you look up the course? Where do you look up the course? How do you sign up for the 6-week course? And Jennifer, I think that's to you. But before you answer that, can you respond to Eric's questions about the sheltered? Eric, what is that? Sheltered
market opportunities. Sure.
Right.
So we spoke briefly. Thank you. We did speak briefly about it. But right now, under our current policy, we have sheltered market opportunities in our facilities department, but we don't have, only for small and micro. So we don't have any yet for minority, where hopefully we'll be able to, once this last disparity study is released and approved by the board, our objective will be to change the policy. And that will go again before all of the board members. And if they agree to incorporate minority goals for goods and services because of the disparity study, we'll be able to do sheltered markets for minority businesses, particularly, again, only those minority businesses that we found have disparity, because Hispanic firms are minority businesses, but we haven't found any disparity with them. We found them with African American, Native American, and Asian Americans. So right now, though, we do have small and micro sheltered market opportunities. And I have to tell you, I had a heartbreaker last month because we did a sheltered market opportunity. I don't have it in front of me. It was either like electrical supplies or plumbing supplies. And again, it goes to what Mr. Frazier said, we're behind the scenes fighting. And we did this in our goal setting committee, and no one applied. We had to reject it, and now we're putting it back out, and it won't be sheltered. Now it'll be open market for anybody. So we're trying to carve out these opportunities, but if I can't get businesses to come to the table and apply, it's for naught.
Jennifer,
So
can you explain what a sheltered market is?
Sure. So a sheltered market opportunity is when no one else can apply for that RFP, that request for proposal, or that invitation to bid. So if you're a smaller micro business and we shelter it, that means we already found that there are at least 3 businesses in that arena who have that NIGP code. And then we meet as a committee and decide we want to shelter it after we have looked and analyzed that data. So no one else can apply. So now it's only limited to small businesses and micro businesses. And then we're going to, if it's an invitation to bid, it's strictly going to be based on price. Whoever comes in the lowest, that's the firm that we will choose and work with to get that opportunity. So again, it goes to pricing. Like Mr. Knowles said, you have to have your house in order so that you're ready for these opportunities. And with COVID, the opportunities were coming out very quickly. The turnaround time has been very fast. So you have to, we tell everybody, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So if you have all of your documents in order, when these opportunities present themselves, you're literally you're pricing your services and you're sending that in. And if your price is competitive, you will be the awardee. It's no magic, there's no tricks, there's nothing in the background. It is strictly based on the price. And that's what we look at. Now, in other opportunities, what we do is we put goals on, particularly in our construction projects. So we'll say, okay, 20% of this $5 million renovation to Norland Middle must be spent with African Americans, Native Americans, or Asian American subcontractors, must. And so again, it's like a sheltered market because those are the only people who can apply to do the painting, the plumbing, the drywall, all of the things that project would entail. So that's how we've been able to move the needle thus far. Not that we're where we want to be, but that's how we've been able to increase the numbers by providing these sheltered market opportunities.
Okay.
But I need more firms. I just need more firms.
Why is that, Jennifer? One of the things that I'm concerned about where you said a price consideration, because in qualifying for minority and that umbrella that it takes care of, the larger firms with a greater buying power perhaps can get the merchandise a lot cheaper. So therefore, their offering will be cheaper than the small business person who is purchasing the same material at a larger price. What consideration is given, again, to protect, not minority, because there is a huge difference between minority and Black contractors. How do we be able to penetrate that market?
And Mr. Ragu, that is exactly what we're seeing. We saw it with all of the PPE equipment. I mean, we saw it with hand sanitizer and gloves, and we were putting the information out, and it's the connections that some larger firms have, because it's mostly all of the items were coming from China and everybody was bidding and trying to get the same PPE equipment. But some people had relationships with that distributor. So people, they were able to sell a mask for $1, where one of my African-American firms was selling a mask for $5. So of course we bought the $1 mask, right? Because at the end of the day, these are taxpayer dollars and we're trying to get the most bang for our buck. So we always are going to use the most competitive price. So it goes to having those relationships with your contractor and being able to compete and be competitive in that arena. So that's a huge obstacle. Again, we're working with Beacon Council to establish some of those relationships to help people increase their capacity, getting loans, especially, there's another round now of stimulus money. So if you're interested in that, if you haven't applied for any stimulus money, or if you have and you want to try a second round, we'll have a meeting very shortly with Althea from the SBA. She's our contact with SBA and she provides all of that information. So I did in the chat, I put our social media contact information on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us because we post all of that when we're having those meetings once a month with Althea from the SBA. And so that's a huge way if you have the financial backing, because we don't also pay upfront. We pay timely. We do have a prompt payment system for our minority firms, but it's still a lengthy process. And that's also been an obstacle because we know you have to pay your employees. So we have a 14-day prompt payment process with all of our certified firms, But if you don't have the financial backing, you still might not be able to compete in some of these opportunities. So if you're interested in getting one of these loans or grants from the SBA, and I know Mr. Knowles with the Chamber has been amazing in providing all of that information, particularly the grant information too, because that you don't have to pay back. So people feel a little bit more secure with the grants even than the loans. But a lot of the loans are forgivable loans as long as you follow the procedures that are outlined and you have your paperwork in order. They are forgivable loans that you will not have to repay. So I encourage you to tune in to our, and I don't have the date in front of me, but we have another SBA meeting coming up very shortly here in February with Althea Harris.
Okay, and can you go back to the main question now, which is the 6-week course? How do one participate in that, and where online can you sign up?
Sure, so that's our supplier development course. We finished a cohort in November. We'll be starting a brand new cohort. We like to limit the number to about 25 participants or so. And the last cohort was the first virtual cohort because we had always done these in person, but it still works very well virtually. So we'll continue it. It will start in February. If you're interested, please email me. Junior Anderson is the contact for that. But if you send your email to me, and we'll have flyers posted again on all of our social media platforms. We email it out to everybody. I know Mr. Knowles always shares it on his platform as well. And you'll be able to sign up for that absolutely free 6-week course. And the feedback that we received has been tremendous. People have told us that really was the difference maker. And not only with us, because of course we want to work with you, but we also will connect you to other entities that have opportunities. So it's even bigger than Miami-Dade County Public Schools. So we've done work collaborating, like I mentioned, with Broward County Public Schools, with Dickey Sykes and Palm Beach County. So we work closely with the county, Gary from Dade County and his team. So we will connect you to other opportunities as well. The hospital, Jackson Hospital. We want to see our businesses do well. So it's not only about working with us, we'll also make that connection and establish those relationships with other entities too.
Okay, now you raised a question in terms of timeline from contract to our first payment, and I'll direct this to Ron. Mr. Fraser, I'm directing this. Do your organization provide, let's say, gap of funding or bridge loans for small businesses who still have to meet the payroll responsibility now that I have the contract, and for, let's say, 2, 3, 6 months, however length of time, that could make a difference between keeping staff and functioning as a good business? Do you provide gap loans or bridge or gap funding or bridge loan for those businesses?
We have provided that to contractors, but they must have a contract. They must have a contract, and what they're looking for is some mobilization funds to allow them to get through the first 60 days of work, because we realize that it takes them about 75 days before the money actually comes in their pocket. So we've worked out a situation where we can advance money, but they must have a contract and some other things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ben, I know you had a question. Go ahead, Ben. Ben, are you there? I guess not. Travis, if you're seeing in the Facebook, you can feel free to go ahead and ask the question, because I'm trying to multitask here on the various ones that are coming in.
No problem. I believe that Robert Tyler had his hand up as well, if he's here.
Yes, I can. I'm still here. I don't know if you can hear me okay. Let me check.
Yes,
I'm driving while I'm doing this. Great. Okay. So let me commend everybody involved with this effort. I mean, I think it's definitely needed and a noble effort. What I want to mention, one of the most critical things that Ron Fraser mentioned a minute ago was that a collective effort. And one thing I thought that would behoove us Eric Knowles, myself, and Ron Frazier probably have access to most of the Black contractors who are really active right now. And if we collaborate with Miami-Dade Public Schools in helping to fill this gap, I think we can make a difference. And we're talking about two different types. One is we want to put people in position to be prime contractors, number one. And in that, whether it's 200,000 and below, $1 million and below, 2 million and below, wherever they're pre-qualified for. And the second is to build a stronger subcontracting base. I heard Jennifer saying that some of the contractors are, the prime contractors are saying that they can't get minority or Black subcontractors. Well, part of that is because many of the contractors out there, and just excuse me if I call names, Purtle and Turner and some of them, our Black subcontractors absolutely refuse to work for some of them. So that's something that we have to address, and it can best be done if there's general contractors, prime contractors at the table, general contractors and subcontractors at the table. I'm willing, Eric, if the chamber is willing to commit, and Ron, if the BAC is willing to commit to.
Lost you there, Bob.
Okay, we lost him for a minute.
Hello?
When he come back. And
Go
ahead.
Ragu, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes, we are.
Can you hear me? This Gallon, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
Dr. Garland, we are here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been paying close attention to that, and what Bob Tyler just said struck a chord in me. If we have a situation where we have some of our viable Black businesses that have done work, that have done good work, and have had some untenable experiences with some of the primes, I would like to know about that. I would definitely like to know about that. I know our goal is to transition our businesses to be able to stand on their own. But in the event that they are subcontractors, and sub means sub, working under, but sub doesn't mean subordinate and below. And if they find themselves being treated in any plantation mentality by some of these primes, I would just like to know about that. Just as a policymaker, as a board member, I would like to know about that. If there's some bona fide instances in which there's, quite frankly, what I would perceive as just mistreatment, maltreatment, horrific treatment of our people trying to do business, trying to do good, viable work, I would like to know about that. And I know he referenced you, Eric. So if that's something you need to circle back just to kind of put my boots on about some of these things, Ron, some contractors, some of these primes in particular, I would like to know about it.
Absolutely.
Let me make one comment. I didn't realize that Dr. Gallon was, my vision is getting bad. You got your dark glasses on in your car. But for everybody on this phone call, y'all ought to be glad that this man was elected to the school board. I'm telling you, he is a giant within himself. About that collective action, when you are trying to put together a proposal or anything that you're trying to get through the board that makes sense for Black businesses and what have you, you need to contact him. Don't take him a lot of bullshit though. Sometimes we have a habit of just taking bullshit because personally we may have been wronged or what have you, but we might not have done all the stuff we're supposed to do. But on a collective effort, and you're trying to get some things changed at the school board, some board rules or some things, or some opportunities as it relates to your particular profession, because you have to remember that the board and the staff does not always understand all our unique problems and circumstances. So with you being able to explain to him what happens in this market and how you're boxed out and certain kinds of things, he can help package things in a different fashion and be your voice on the board. All right. So any kind of collective game plan that you have that you're trying to get through the school board, he should be your first contact along with Andrea, because they have to work in tandem. She has to implement whatever the board decides they want to do. So he is your man and I had to give you that plug, man.
Thank you, Ron.
And Mr. Frazier, I'm sorry, Mr. Ragu, but I have a perfect example so that you know that these aren't just words. This is what happens. And I believe it was on one of the chamber calls with Mr. Knowles, and he had someone say, you know, Miss Jennifer Andreu, she always wants us to pay and be a lobbyist so that we can have access to school principals and be able to talk to board members about our products or goods and services. And that was true. And there's a fee with that, $250 fee. Well, you know, during the pandemic, people were complaining because $250 is a lot of money if you don't have any money coming in. So as a result of that conversation on one of the chamber calls, we went back and we asked the board to revise the policy about lobbyists. They extended the window period because of the shutdown. And then they also did what I call a BOGO, right? Buy one, get one free. So now you can at least register 2 people for the $250. So that's a perfect example of just giving feedback to, you know, our office. And then we are taking that feedback and actually changing the policy, and Dr. Gallen and his colleagues approve that. So it's minor, but it helps. Again, I'm not saying, you know, but every dollar makes a difference. And that was one policy change that was done just a few months ago to help our small certified firms.
No, Jennifer, you're right. You know, it was small, but for small businesses, that was a big thing. So we appreciate the fact of the relationship. And as Ron said, we got to keep knocking on these doors. And it doesn't just happen because you ask one time. You got to continue, unfortunately. But working together is the only way we're going to move this dynamic.
There's a question asked, is there a need for educational consultants?
Right now, I can't tell you that there's a need because we are still in this pandemic, and so many people are still remote. A lot of students are still remote. So the professional development that we're doing right now is mostly done in-house with our staff, but there definitely opportunities will be coming forth as we all get vaccinated and eventually transition 100% back to in-person education. I'm sure that there will be opportunities for consultants, but I want to be very clear, that's an arena that's very flooded, right? There are a lot of consultants. That's an arena that we have a lot of vendors in. So as a consultant, you have to be offering something that's new, that's different, that we don't already have in-house. So think about your business model and your business plan as to what it is you would like to do.
And I want to follow up on that, Mr. Ragu. Jennifer is absolutely correct. I was going to be even a little more specific. Educational consultant is a very, very broad term. So is there a market for it even in the midst of the pandemic? Potentially. We've had some opportunities where we may have people who are educational consultants under a broad umbrella, but they provide targeted services for special needs students or something like that. So just the broad term of educational consultant, she's absolutely correct. It is flooded, but when you start to tailor it down in terms of maybe special needs or bilingual or something that's very, very targeted, strategic planning may be something that's coming up right now because I'm doing an item on strategic planning. So you never know. There may be some need for somebody to be a support person for that. You may have educational consultants that do program evaluation. So even in the midst of the pandemic, we still have to evaluate some of our programs. But the broad term of educational consultant, she's absolutely correct. There are a lot, but you have to refine your business model and utilize the business model that speaks to supply and demand. Where there's a high demand and a low supply, that's where you want to occupy that space. But where there's a lot of supply and little demand, obviously the opportunities are going to be far and few between.
Thank you, Dr. Garland. Mr. Michael Butler, I'm going to defer to you for a minute because I know your hard work continuously, knocking on the doors. I don't know how successful you are, but I'd like to hear your experience, good or bad, I mean, as to what it has been like.
Who? Me?
Michael Butler. Ben, I will come back to you because you weren't there before, but I'll come back to you. Go ahead, Michael Butler. Are you muted?
Okay.
Muted,
Yeah,
Mike.
there we go. Yes. First,
you
I'd
got
like to say
next.
thank you for having me, Mr. Ragu. And I'm a proud member of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, man. I love the chamber. And also the OEO and MDCPS and everybody there, you know, is like my extended family. They've done a lot for me when I started to launch my firm back in 2014. And like Eric said, you know, I was taking the bus and different things like that, you know, before, you know, I started to get Benzes and then find out that that wasn't really tangible. You know, it was about property and land. So when I got that concept in my head about property and land, I said, wow, you know, if our subcontractors can get to the end of their projects and obtain their retainage, that can help them become homeowners and become, you know, and build wealth the same way that it's happening for me. So, you know, that's my thought process right now. So just to back it up a little bit, a lot of GCs, you know, may not be as excited for the Black contractor that he won a job. Don't be fooled. We may like it, but other people may not like the idea that, you know, you got a school that's worth over $100,000. So imagine if you win 2 or 3 schools with the same contractor, they, you know, you have some undercurrent levels there that can get real tricky for subs. And being that we're not contracted directly with the agencies or some agencies, that leaves us open to these undercurrents. Like the doctor said, you know, you get these, you know, treated badly, slave mentality, plantation type of treatment from people who think you don't deserve to have these monies. So that's an issue that that becomes jaded for a lot of subs. Why they say, hey, you know, like Bob Tyler said, hey, you know, these guys don't want to engage. Why? Because they're not being treated fairly on the stage. You know, you can have the opportunity for the sub, but if we're not protecting them while they're there, you know, then it's going to be problems. If I send a pay app, if an architect of a project stamps my pay app for $17,000, and I go to my GC to get paid, and my payment is only $10,000, that means I'm losing $7,000 somewhere. So it's going to come from the supplier, it's going to come from the workers. So that you find yourself in a tight squeeze. If that happens to you 2, 3, 4 times, then you have to file a complaint in between. And then the GC hears that you file a complaint. It doesn't make your relationship any better. Now you find yourself where your projects start failing out of nowhere. I mean, hey, it's a tricky place. So we have to monitor the behavioral ethics, you know, of the prime contractor as it pertains to dealing with our minority firms. And our firms have to feel comfortable with coming to, you know, our resources with issues before we go and file a complaint that may put us in a tight situation with the GC. You know, if we're having problems, you know, this is what I've learned. I have problems. I was trying to deal with it in a way where a lot of people were getting upset. Like, man, Michael Butler's on fire right now because this dude is not being treated right, you know. But when I had the opportunity to bring certain people to the table, you know, I was so furious that, you know, I didn't do that. And that was a big mistake on my part, because the people that are here to help you are here to help you, like the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. Like Ron Frazier came to my office on Brickell, and he sat down with me, and he had some very intense conversations with me and different things like that. And this was all a part of my growth period, you know. And so yeah, we have some UC levels within our platforms. Undercurrent levels is what I call them. These are things that people don't really see, activities that people don't see. That's why they're undercurrent, you know, but being that I've been through this, I've worked with the county, I've worked with the school board, I work with Jackson Health Systems, and you know, so I know I've had a lot of experience with dealing with these agencies, you know, going through audits every week and different things like that, and still coming out successful. You know, not every small business is going to be able to do that. So what we have to do is, like Ron Frazier was saying earlier, we have to come together on one page, man. We have to protect our subcontractors when we bring them to the table. Don't say, hey, I have an opportunity for you, you won, and then and that's it, you know, because they may be faced with undercurrents because everybody's not excited that we're winning or that we have won, or we're trying to win, you know. So that's why they want to throw out some of the SBA goals and say we can't find anybody, because you got people being mistreated that don't want to engage. That's the problem.
Okay. As you close, Michael, give us the name of your company.
The name of my company is Easy Painting and Decorating Inc. And I also have another firm that's registered with the county that's called Impact 9, which is a small business consulting firm. And what we do is we transform workers into business owners. And Eric can vouch for that. We put a lot of our workers in positions to be company owners. I'm currently working with a minority firm, a Black firm out of Miami Gardens right now. He's been working with me on some City of Miami projects that we've been working on. And I'm looking to groom him and bring him in. And hopefully we can continue to do this work. But I'm here. My contribution is solid. Eric knows where I stand with the chamber and different things like that. And I'm here for any assistance that may be needed. You know, I'm here. OEO knows it.
Okay.
Michelle, everybody knows it.
Mr. Rago.
Thank you, Michael. Put your information in the chat. Yes.
Mr. Rago, I want to say something about what Brother Butler said. That's real. That's 100. And I know Mr. Frazier's here, and I know Eric is here, and they can attest to that. We recognize that there are some consequences and some forms of retribution where companies want to speak out about mistreatment. But what I do want to say is that, you know, we have a way of navigating through this with a great degree of discretion, a great degree of protection where permissible. But as Mr. Frazier said, they have to have a bona fide issue that we can work with, and we're not apologetic about addressing it, and we're not going to, in other words, throw them under the bus. We're not going to do that. But it may very well be, as Jennifer mentioned in her presentation, it very well may be the representation of a prime that should have certain minority subs with them, where a school board member just walks on the facility and walks on the campus and starts counting workers and does not see one Black worker and simply takes pictures and find out that's the case. So there's a subtle, discreet way that we can go about dealing with issues. And I'm talking about the issue that happened in District 1 about 3 years ago, and that led to some tightening up on our compliance pieces, where we had the project over at New Orleans Elementary School being led by a Black prime, but I didn't see not one Black out of 20 some odd workers on the site, not one Black on the site. And that led to some reform efforts. I didn't say a whole lot of words. If you go back into Facebook, you could probably see the post that day. I just took pictures and said, let's see. And we have people that were not there representing the community, and it was hell to pay at that particular time. That led to some changes, led to some policy and practice reforms. But some of those things obviously can be handled in a very discreet way. But what I will say is that no firm, Black, white, green, orange, whatever, but especially, you know, our Black firms in this particular case should have to subscribe to and accept and swallow a plantation mentality treatment from any prime. We just not gonna suffer that, and they shouldn't have to either. And they have a relief. If they don't know me, don't trust me, they got a Ron Frazier, they got a Eric, they got you, they got Commissioner Ferguson. There are ways we can find out things in a very discreet way, and it all comes out in the wash of the rinse. But I am very interested in knowing, and I think Bob Tyler say he'll circle back offline. But if we have some of these people that are consistently getting contracts, but at the same time are mistreating our own people, there's a way to deal with that. There's a way to deal with that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Garland. Ben, you got next one. After Ben, Jennifer, I'm going to roll back to you to speak about insurance and bonding capacity. Ben, go ahead.
Good morning, OPAC.
Good morning, Ben.
Yes, for those who don't know, I am the president of EBS Engineering, and we've been in business about 26 years. We've done a lot of business with the Miami-Dade County. We've done with Broward County, we've done with municipalities around Miami-Dade County and the federal government. Compared to all the places that we've done business with, Miami school, public schools is a mafia. That's the word I've used. I've used it in OPAC again before. I mean, this is a mafia. The only way you can get in to do work with Miami-Dade County public schools successfully is only if you are introduced by the powers that be by a board member. If you are not introduced by a board member, you would go nowhere. You can actually lose your business by doing business with Miami-Dade public schools because they would do everything to make sure that you don't make a dime. It's a mafia. They don't want you to compete with their, select group of this. I see somebody shaking his head. Say, probably it's not so. Jennifer would disagree with me, I understand. But if you're in business and you submit a bid in Miami-Dade public schools and you submit in Miami-Dade County, you will see a difference. The board member said, or I think Jennifer said, 44 million has been given to Black businesses in the total of 900 million have been spent. I would tell you that majority of that, even the board member said, goes to one company, and that one company has a white partner. That one company has a white partner, okay? So you think about it. You are sitting here, Jennifer is putting up this screen table so that everybody would think, oh, if you go there, you just sign up. Why is it that many, many years ago, Ron Fraser was in business, there were a lot of architects that signed up and wanted to do business with the school board. But most of them left town after maybe 1 or 2 contracts. Now we have less number. In fact, I'm even surprised to hear that 23 architects registered with the Miami-Dade School Board. I'm surprised. Black, I don't know where they get some of them from. I think I can tell maybe some of them are not really Blacks. Because unless you are led by hand with a board member, takes you there and say, I want this guy to do business. But the problem also is with Black business that we don't have money to contribute to the board members. When they look at their list of people who contributed to them, Ben is not in there. Okay? Ron is not in there. So yes, we may not have as much money. So, and even if we contribute, when they look at the contribution you make, you contributed maybe 500, and then the big white firm contributed, when you add up the numbers they sent to him, it's about 700 or, a lot more. So we don't have opportunity to do business in Miami-Dade County Public School. It's close to us completely. If you don't believe it, start a business and see. Ask Mr. Butler. They will make, if you get one contract, they will make it impossible for you to do that contract. Because next time they want to say, oh, there was nobody. Francis said, oh, they were looking for architect and engineer. No? I said they're not looking. They know where they are. They would only use Cuban minorities if they are big companies. They wouldn't use Blacks. No matter how good you are, you have done business for others, but they wouldn't use you. I'm not saying this to discourage people. I'm just giving you the facts as they are. I've been in business 26 years. Yes, compared to Miami-Dade County, it's a mafia. Go there, you see a lot of Black contractors in Miami-Dade County. But in the school board, you can register 1 year. After you've gone through all this, you would say, no. Yeah. So it's different. It's different until the climate change and until the Black board members start taking people, say, I want you to give him this job, or that is not going to happen. I'm sure that when Stenson was there, we had a few people. Stenson was a good person. He knew the system. He was part of that. He helped some Black people to get work, a lot more than we have now. When these other people came in, oh, policy is good. Okay, I would do disparity studies, You already know what the disparity studies will say. You know, we are just talking about 44 now being given to Blacks, but actually one company got that contract, most of those contracts. The impact in the Black community is not there, and it's not going to be there because we know what we know. None of these people wants the Black people to get this contract, and the board members don't know how to do it in either.
Okay, Ben, in the interest of time, I have to get the quick answer to that.
Okay.
I will defer to Dr. Garland, and I'm deferring to you, Dr. Garland, and also to Jennifer. Is that a fair accusation?
Yeah, I'll take that. How you doing, Ben?
I'm not doing
you had me. Well, you had me for a while, but I mean, it's okay. You know, that's what we're here for. I think a lot of the references were to what the board members would do. I will concede to the fact that the historical pattern of disparity is very, very clear. The facts and the data reflect that. Now, the facts that you represent, I think they're more of opinions based on your experiences, which I'm not trying to discount and I'm not trying to defend. But I will totally reject the whole notion that we're operating as a mafia. I totally reject that. I reject that wholeheartedly. And if I were to go down a list of opportunities that have been created for Blacks, opportunities in which Blacks have had an opportunity to be elevated, I think that will bear out somewhat differently. Secondly, you mentioned that board members can unilaterally walk somebody in and say, give this person a contract. It doesn't work that way. And if it did work that way in that particular practice, I would probably be on channel 4, channel 6, channel 7, and channel 10. We don't have that luxury. We don't have that latitude, and we don't have those parameters within the role of ethics and law to carry ourselves that way. Now, what we can do is make sure that if people are ready, willing, and able, put them in a position to get qualified, put them in a position to apply, put them in a position to compete, and put them in a position that if they submit an application for fair competition, to go back and have an opportunity to review what went wrong, what went right. For those that missed the opportunities and didn't get selected, we have others that did get contracts. But we've been behind the 8 ball for so long that we're trying to play catch up. And you're absolutely right. It was one Black firm that got the majority of the general obligation bond contract. I was not on the board then when that happened, but that has been addressed. Whatever partnership they had, that was a subject of an inquiry, and it fell where it fell. But I don't want to diminish the opportunities that have been created for other Blacks, whether they're primes, whether they're subs, that have moved over the course of the past 5 or 6 years. Do we have a way to go? I don't think you're going to scream louder than me on this particular issue. And I'm not screaming on Zoom. I'm not screaming on Facebook. I make my case made publicly on the microphone. So absolutely, I've expressed publicly I'm not satisfied. Some people accuse me and ask me whether or not I'm angry. I say, no, I'm not angry. I'm just not happy. I'm not angry. I'm just not happy about the lack of progress, the lack of rapidity, that we're not moving rapid enough to move the needle. But I reject any notion that the school board as a whole operates as a mafia. And I want to qualify that, Mr. Rego. I got to qualify that. You have a school board of elected people and you have an administration. And a lot of times we make a blanket statement about the school board. I've not brought an item to the board, and there's 2 Black board members, myself and Dr. Bendros Mendengal. So it's not always simply about the Black board members supporting it. When I say something was supported 9-0, that means I got 7 other board members that didn't look like me that supported that particular issue, that raised the question, and that called the issue. The one that was dealt with on the independent audit, that came from a Hispanic board member. that wanted to do an independent audit on the general obligation bond because she felt that the disparity and the opportunities for Blacks and other minority groups wasn't moving fast enough. Ben, do I concede that we got work to do? You damn right we got work to do. We got a lot of work to do. But this was not created overnight and is not going to be solved overnight. But I can't just concede to the fact that we're not making any movement and that we're not trying to push the ball down the road. And what we do need, we need more people to step up to the table, and we need to be able to point to them. And I can give you instances where I went on social media and said, I'm looking for somebody who can perform this work. People inbox me, and of some of those people that inbox me, the district was forthright because they had nobody. I gave them some people that were eligible and qualified. Those people went through the process. They went through the process, got a contract, got an award, and did the work. My last comment, Mr. Ragu, is that we need people to get more active. We know Ron Frazier's name. He's legendary because he stands, he speaks, and he fights publicly. But when Ron steps aside and can't do this work no more, who's going to come and stand in the gap for a Ron Frazier? Who's going to stand in the gap for other people who have championed these issues publicly? So while we sit up there, we need other people to come from the community to make the case. So Ben, if you got some receipts, give us some receipts, give us some things that we can chew on. And I best believe, as if Ron Frazier said, if it's not about any foolishness, we go represent it and we go call a question.
And whilst on that, I'm just going to make one statement, dear, and Jennifer know about it. Our last meeting, because I continue to fight that fight for Black contractors. Though I don't know most of you, I'm fighting for you. And I consider what I say the wow factor in bundling under minority. And I speak my truth regardless of the power, because we know in Miami-Dade County, when we say minority, the Hispanic community on the federal level is considered minority. When we have, and I say the wow factor, that of the minority contract that is given and the dollar amount to the Hispanic firms is 375 million, and the Black firms are 44 million. Jennifer can tell you, I raised the issue. The sad part about that, as Michael alluded to, one of the Black representatives on the board will say, well, we get our capacity as to what we can handle, and was not genuinely supportive of me fighting that fight to increase those numbers. And that's the sad part. And I don't want to call name, but if I have to, I will, because he's a prominent member in this community. But his knee is in our neck when he say we get what our capacity as Black firms, and I think that is genuinely wrong. That's
Mr. Ragu, clarify when you say a Black board member, you're talking about a member of a committee. You want to just clarify that?
I'm saying the board, yes, the board, the Black member of the advisory board.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to say.
It's on the advisory board.
Yeah, Ben mentioned.
I'm representing you there.
Yeah, Ben mentioned school board. I don't want him to get it twisted. All right.
Okay,
Francis,
quick comment. Francis, can I make a quick comment? Yes.
Quickly, and then we have to move on because time is of the essence.
I understand what the board member has said, and I respect his opinion, but I have also my opinion that I've stated there. And again, I want to emphasize that out of the work that has been done now, the Black firms have got only less than 5%. Less than 5%. And I don't think there's anything to celebrate in that. And I also want to emphasize again that the work went to one company, and that one company has a white partner. I don't want to say it's a front, but I'm sure that everybody knows he has a white partner. So look at the facts as they are. It is very, very, very almost impossible for Black firms to do business with the school board. How come we can do the same work with Miami-Dade County? How come we can do the same thing with Miami-Dade County and we are not allowed to do in the school board?
But I have to limit you based on time, but that's what brought us here.
I'm willing to work with others, and if I do have a contract with Miami-Dade County School, I will show up on the meetings. Yes, I will show up, but you know that I have my time, you know. Yes, I can volunteer and sit on the thing on a committee. I can do that as well. But at the same time, not when I feel that we are completely excluded for the 25 years I've done business. Only Ron Fraser company was able to get a continuing engineering company. Okay? And yes, there were some.
Okay.
So
And then I have to limit you because of time, and we have some other things to cover. But the fight is going to continue. This may not be the only opportunity because we're going to follow up and see what have we achieved from where we are today. But Jennifer, again, I want to come back to you in reference to being insured and bonding capacity. And the other question in that is there any opportunities that is geared towards where the school board is providing the bonding for firms that cannot afford to?
Sure. So, Mr. Ragu, I would be remiss though if I didn't address some of the concerns that Ben brought up. So when I gave you the $44 million figure and told you that was about 6% of the overall general obligation bond funding, that was for African-American primes. But there's another $40 million that has been expended with African-American subs. So a total of about $84 million has been spent with African-Americans. So I want to be very clear on that. So are we there? Everybody has said, I think there's the consensus. No, we are not there yet. But have we made gains? Absolutely. And so that goes beyond the one company that he's mentioning. So we've had several African-American firms that started out as micro businesses and they've grown to small. And then we've even graduated people out of our program. That means they're bringing in over $5 million and they can no longer qualify as a small business. So we graduate them and they don't need our help and support anymore. So there are those firms that have succeeded and done well. I want to be very clear on that. It's not a mafia. I want people to know that, and many changes have been made within the last 2 to 5 years. So gone are the days where somebody needs to walk you in and put your name on a piece of paper. That's not how we're operating. That is not the case. Is very transparent and very fair. And I need the community to be aware of that, because that kind of rhetoric is what is preventing people from coming to the table. So you can get a contract with us, and several firms have been successful in doing so. Now, in terms of bonding, we can assist. We do have a couple of firms that we can recommend if you need a recommendation for bonding, and that's part of your pre-qualification package. And some people prefer to stay at the subcontractor level because they don't need that bonding as much. So it all depends on the firm. We handle it on a case-by-case basis, but that's what we are here to do. We'll advocate for you. We will assist you with that, and we can make those connections to help you with your bonding. And we even have some opportunities if they're under, I want to say, $250,000 threshold, without me looking at the policy in front of me, then you might not need that bonding at all. We can waive that. So there are instances where we can waive the bonding altogether if you're interested in that as well.
Francis?
What about insurance?
Francis?
What about insurance?
Francis?
You have to carry the insurance, yes.
Francis?
Commissioner, go ahead.
Yes, I want something cleared up that Dr. Gallen referred to when he said something about Black board members. I think it's very important for the audience to realize that you were not talking about school board members, but committee members. And it's time for us to stop protecting anyone. We call names at us, okay? And if there are names that need to be called, let's call them. If there are that are supposed to be representing us and they are not, let's call them. So, but I'm not asking you right now to call names. What I'm asking you and Dr. Gallen and Ron Frazier to do for us as a community is to talk about Blacks on these various boards. What is it that we should be expecting them to do? Or is it something that they can do that they're not doing? Or tell us about that system and whether or not we should even be looking at committee members, board members.
And it is the 21st Century School Board Bond Advisory Committee. And that gentleman is Mr. T. Willard Fair from the Urban League.
There's too
And
much
I was extremely
feedback in the
surprised.
background. I'm
It
sorry.
is part of the public. It is part of the public records of the last minutes that we had. That you can go and see it. And I was very disturbed by it because it's a gentleman that I have most respect and utmost respect for. But when you make that comment after I'm advocating and you say, well, that's within our capacity to handle as Black contractors, that keeping the knee on the head from other people saying, well, yes, that is true. And I was saddened by it. And it's in the public record. So yes, I put it out there. I speak truth to power. Let it fall where it have to.
Francis, let me bring something to the group so we can be on the same page. We don't necessarily have to get into any conflicts and arguments here. The first thing that I learned when I got involved with the school board thing was read. You got to read the facts and the figures and keep up with the reports that are being put out. Now, Francis is on the oversight board, and I think there are like 4 or 5 Blacks on that board. I'm not sure. But I'm quite sure the person he's talking about is T. Willard Fair, because that's the kind of statements he makes. But what you have to understand is how many registered Black contractors, general contractors, were there when they were putting the bond. There were no more than 6. To win a contract as a general contractor, you must be a general contractor. So there were only 6. Dwight Stevenson was the biggest. Yeah, he got a lot of stuff, and I brought him to task on that. Now, the issue is there were like 25 Black subcontractors, okay, in the whole deal. The subcontractors were able to get work. Well, we found out that 2 to 3 of them were hired by each general contractor. Yeah, we pushed for a lot more. And we found out they were given work in the finish areas, not in mechanical and electrical and that type of stuff where the bigger dollars are. But what we did learn was that the mechanical and electrical subcontractors didn't have the capacity to walk away with a $3 million subcontract. That was the bottom line on that particular issue. So we began to push to see how we could get their capacity up and push that they could get on certain jobs. So you have to be able to look at those numbers before we make those blank statements. Now, Ben, I know you're frustrated. You and I have been around a very long time, but you just can't make blanket statements like that because everybody got frustrated. Yeah, in 1998, there were 24 Black architects and engineers. And they're not around anymore. Now, yeah, they got a certain amount of Black architects on that list. And you can ask Jennifer, I say, well, who are these people? She sent me the list. They're Black and they're registered. They're individuals, but they're not all from Dade County. They're there. Now, all of them haven't gotten any work. All right? The Black architects that got work were only about 4. No, 3, if that. 2 primes, the others were subs. So we have to look at it at a ground level situation. We all get frustrated. But like I said when we started off, this is a collective effort. Collective effort. You can't go down as one individual and think you're going to walk away with anything. I had to press the Cuban architects, the women, to hire Black engineers because they said they didn't have any. I challenged the superintendent to tell them that if the teams were not reflective diversity, then he shouldn't award any contracts. I pressed him on that. And finally, they didn't award. They stopped awarding to some people, and all of a sudden, the Cuban women and people were able to find Blacks to put on their teams. You know? So we don't want to discourage y'all. It ain't gonna be no cakewalk. Look at what's happening in DC. It is not a cakewalk for us. They are not gonna lay out that rose red carpet and say, you black folks come in here and get this money. They're gonna count your money all the time. They count mine all the time. All right? They don't want to give us no more than one job. We know that. Okay.
Thank you, Ron. And we are going to let that be the last word. I'm going to defer back to the commissioner, to our panel members, Dr. Garland, Jennifer and Eric. I think it was an open discussion that we speak our truth. I would be looking forward to part 2 on this as a follow-up for those contractors who now will take advantage of the opportunities learned today to find out from you the feedback, you know, what your experience is, and maybe 3 months down the road, we come back here and let's talk about it, because the intent is to not complain, but to make a difference. And Jennifer cannot do it by herself. Dr. Garland cannot do it by herself. So when they make that call for we to join them to support their efforts as they fight for us, you know, I hope that you guys are going to be there in order to make that a reality. Again, I want to thank you very much for the participation, for our audience, for your spirited questions. And Commissioner, it's back to you.
Francis, Commissioner, before you go, Francis, I would like to say definitely we want to do a follow-up and have a meeting with the GCs and the subcontractors in our community, and along with the school board. So I look forward to that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And we're going to speak, Eric, in terms of scheduling that. So likewise, Dr. Garland and Jennifer, let us know. This, I know Commissioner said it's 30 years, but actually this year is going to be 34 years in terms of, so she's treated me on some age, Commissioner. You want to keep that youth going, but you know, we are aging now.
It has been 34 years, and I really want to thank all of you for participating today. I think this has just been a wonderful forum, and it's important for the community to see and to hear what's really going on. Very often, we simply don't know what's going on. We're guessing. We hear one side and not the other. And there are usually many sides when it comes to a situation like this. And please let us do a follow-up so that the community can continue to hear, and board members can continue to hear that we are working together and that we are intending to address these issues together. And we have a wonderful board member who is representing this community well. And they know that by now, I'm sure, Dr. Gallen. When they see you coming, they know you're serious, and they know that you have this community at your back. And we are so pleased. And Mr. Butler, I really want to hear more from you in terms of what's really happening at the ground level. I think that was just so important for us to hear what really.
Thank you.
And so please come back and
Absolutely.
us. And Ron Frazier, you're not going anywhere. We need you. You can't disappear on us. You have been out there fighting this fight for a very long time, speaking truth to power. What was the power? The instances, Ron, is that the community didn't hear all that you were doing and see all that you were doing at the school board. The board members knew because you were always in their face, the board members and the staff, but the community was not aware of the depth of the problems that you were dealing with. And I am sure that Eric can reach out to other people like Mr. Butler to bring them in and let them remind us of what's really going on. We can't change things overnight, but we can definitely change them, Jennifer. We can change them, and we can continue to mentor and start our people at the a very young age, before they get out of high school, so that they know what they're going to be dealing with. We're not here to paint rosy pictures and pretend that something's all right when it's not. And we need to work with and bring our young people up from the very beginning and teach them how to deal with systems that simply don't love us. If we haven't learned that by now, we never will. So again, I truly want to thank all of you. And please, let's stay together for round two and continue on. We're here every Saturday, and this is our 34th year. And hopefully work some more um, on this particular issue, as well as other issues. We have, we're really, really out of time. It is 12 o'clock already, so we didn't have a chance for a lot of community announcements, but we'll take just a couple of brief community announcements at this time before we close out. Are there any community announcements that we need to make?
Before you do that, Commissioner, for those of you who log on for the first time because you get the flyer, the Zoom ID remains the same and the password every Saturday at 10 a.m. So feel free to come back on the same Zoom ID and password.
Thank you, Francis. And we have really been blessed with the Wilkie D. Ferguson Junior Bar Association working with us and making sure that we continue to keep the exact same Zoom ID every single Saturday for the last 9 months that we have been doing this. It's been longer than 9 months, actually. And so keep the same Zoom number, come back every single Saturday. We are here with different issues. And Travis, do you want at this particular time to let them know what's coming up that's really, really special in a couple of Saturdays with the Wilkie Ferguson Bar Association?
Thank you, Commissioner Ferguson. The Wilkie D. Ferguson Junior Bar Association, in conjunction with some of the other voluntary bar associations, will be hosting Get Your Financial House in Order. We will have speakers, including judges from the probate court. We will have attorneys from the probate court. We will have attorneys who do wills, attorneys who do trusts, to answer some questions and give presentations on how to prepare your financial house. This is a part of our series that we've been doing throughout the year. Last year we had, if you may remember, we had the same series done at the Caleb Center, but due to COVID-19 restrictions and social distancing guidelines, we're going to hold the forum in a virtual format this year. It's going to be on Saturday, July 23rd at 11 a.m.
January 23rd, not July.
January 23rd at 11 a.m. It will be in a virtual format. If you keep an eye on our website, our Facebook page, Wilkie D. Ferguson Junior Bar Association, you will see the information posted there. We'll continue to update people here in our platforms, but it will be in approximately 2 weeks at 11 a.m. Using the same Zoom platform that we use here. As a matter of fact, we are going to be jumping off from the Zoom meeting here at UPPAC directly to the forum so that people can attend here at UPPAC and also attend our forum. We anticipate that it will be a very informative forum, and we look forward to seeing you guys there.
Thank you so much. And I hope that all of you will have a very, very pleasant weekend. But in order to have a pleasant weekend, you've got to keep your TV turned off of the news.
Hello?
Wow, so that perhaps you can breathe. But again, hope to see you next Saturday. Please, please take care, stay safe, and get that vaccine if you can.